So in the news this week, according to NBC7 out of San Diego, Fallbrook company CPR Classic Sales is accused of keeping more than $11 million owed to its customers. We've covered, start right off with a bang. So we've covered some automotive scams in the past lately on this show, and this appears to be another one of those, and it is multiple layers deep. We're going to start at the top with what we know that's out there in the news article, and we're going to dig a little bit deeper and see what we uncovered as well. Everything we found is public information, so you can find it too. We're just going to try to summarize and package it up. And of course, everything is alleged, other than the stuff that isn't. So
yeah, let's unravel this onion.
Okay, so we're going to start from most recent and go back into its history a little bit, and the juicy stuff. The farther back we go, the juicier it gets. So the most recent story broke just a few days ago by NBC San Diego, and there's multiple lawsuits currently against this Fallbrook company, CPR Classic Sales and CPR Classic Restoration, and its owner, Andrea Nicole Doherty. The lawsuits allege, and some of them have gotten judgments, that they essentially sold cars on consignment and did not pay the customers, and or did restoration jobs or got paid for restoration jobs that were not completed, and or sold the same car multiple times to different customers.
Oh.
Yes. We've seen some of these things in the past, so we've dealt with some of these, but this goes deeper. So Hans Clausen is the person who reached out to the news, and he has a pretty sad story. I mean, anyone that gets scammed on the sale of their dream car is a sad story, but this one is particularly moving. The car was a gift from his wife back in 1970, and he hired CPR Classic to sell it for him. They owe him $111,500 as a result of the sale, according to this lawsuit. And he sold it because his wife has dementia and he needs the proceeds to care for her. Ugh. So, yeah, they did not give him the money. They said they sold it. And for him to send the title, he signed off and sent the title. And then they said, well, the buyer backed out of the deal. Months and months went on, and he never got paid. They didn't find another buyer. And apparently they actually had sold the car and never paid him. So Andrea set up, according to this article, a $10,000 a month payment plan, which is never a good thing from a dealership.
Oh, gosh, no. Usually you go to them for a payment plan. Like, come on.
This is true. This is true. And I guess he got one payment and then nothing. So he reached out to the media, which now we're digging into this a little bit. A lot of people have had this issue. When we looked at Renlist and Pelican forums, this spans a couple years back. This started in 2022, that there was rumblings on the internet that things might not be on the up and up, that people weren't getting paid, that people were getting the runaround. So this has been going on for a while, but this is the first time it's come to public light. So we decided to dig into this just a little bit more. There certainly are a lot of current lawsuits pending in court in California, and there's a number of judgments, but let's see what other dirt we can uncover. So first of all, we went and searched the Secretary of State for their business. Doesn't exist. Well, that's weird.
Off to a great start.
It's a government website, right? It's like, well, you didn't capitalize the third letter, you know. Turns out it's a sole proprietorship. It's Andrea Nicole Doherty, DBA, sole proprietor, DBA, CPR Classic Sales and CPR Classic Restoration. And I'm thinking, why would anyone do that? A legitimate business person would want to have a corporate shield and properly file an LLC or a corporation. Like any good CPA or attorney would say, hey, if you have assets to protect, you don't want to be a sole proprietor.
Well, because that means they can go directly to you, right? Because,
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, I wouldn't want that. No,
Yeah,
thank you.
like that's like if you're cutting hair out of your house or something, like that's you'd be a sole proprietor or a consultant or whatever. But like, man, especially when you're dealing with this big dollar stuff, have a properly filed company.
I think we should also say, too, that CPR Classic, this is out of Fallbrook in California. There is another one
That is
East, correct?
There's CPR Classic East, different company, different owner, not affiliated. We do not want to besmirch their name. Totally different company. They have some back affiliation just in terms of like using the name, but it is not the same company. Yeah, don't know anything about them. This is CPR Classic in Fallbrook, California. Oh gosh, this article is crazy. Some people got fake tracking numbers for checks that were on the way. Yep.
Man.
Oh, this is great. Yeah. Not great. So I looked up their dealer license. Their dealer license has been suspended. No
Sweet.
surprise. Yep. But I wanted to see how far back all of this stuff goes, right? So CPR Classic claims that they've been in business for over 40 years. Okay.
It's a long time. Okay.
Long time. Yep. How old do you think Andrea Doherty is?
Because you're asking me, it's going to be closer than is comfortable to 40 years.
36.
What? How does it? That math does not math.
That's correct. Well, let's see. Let's see what's in the past. Okay, so on their website, Brian Doherty, who is her father, is listed as a director of the company, but she is the sole owner. It's a sole proprietor.
Okay, sure.
The words right there, sole. There's some other family members that are also listed as employees. Her brother, Dylan Doherty, and her husband is also listed on there. So it's a big family affair there. But we go digging back and back, and we go and find Brian Doherty, and we see what kind of past he might have. Well, our research assistant found a couple of court cases from 2004 and 2007.
Okay.
We're going to look at one first. And I'm going to ask the question, what do baseball cards have to do with CPR Classics?
Doug, I thought we were
downfall?
talking about cars.
Baseball cards.
I have
and
no
planes, airplanes.
At least those have wheels.
Okay. Well, Richard McWilliam is the owner of Chief Executive Officer of Upper Deck, a sports memorabilia and trading card company. He also has a company called JetSource, or had back in the 2000s, formed in 1997. His business consisted of chartering private aircraft, and this is all from court documents that I'm reading and or summarizing. And there was another company called Mach 1, and this was formed by John Moyes, but John Moyes became a friend with Brian Doherty, and Brian Doherty got involved in this company, Mach 1. So they were renting office space from JetSource and, normal standard business, but then they discussed JetSource's interest in acquiring aircraft for its charter business. So Doherty informed JetSource that Mach 1, Doherty and Moyes' company, did not have the money to fund purchases or even pay the expenses of inspecting these aircraft. So Doherty just said, well, I'll act as a broker for acquiring this aircraft, and I'll get paid a commission on the purchase and sale of these aircraft. So they did that, and they were to negotiate the lowest possible price, and they used JetSource's funds, right? Other people's money. It's a good way to start.
I almost feel like we need one of those boards that you can tack up photos and red string
Yes,
and really
we do.
just I'm getting lost.
I'm doing my best here.
The baseball cards are up there somewhere.
Baseball
we're
cards
fine.
really have nothing to do with this. It was just a, grabby line. Mach 1 negotiated a price of $9.7 million to purchase a Falcon 50. However, Mach 1 represented to JetSource that the price of the aircraft was $10.6 million, and in fact produced a sales contract which reflected the higher price.
Some additional math does in fact not math.
Yep. They did this a few different times, and apparently there's another entity known as Aircraft Dealer Services, which was an entity controlled by Mach 1, which is Moyes and Doherty's company. Yes, we need that.
Okay.
Those pins
like,
here, right? Yeah. Listen, it kind of all flows back to Doherty. They did a number of transactions like this, continually inflating the stated purchase price so that they could make $500,000 or $1 million right off the bat, essentially biting the hand that fed them. At trial, Doherty conceded that sales contract appeared to have been altered. Yeah, no kidding. So Doherty actually got sued by JetSource for something completely different. And in discovery, they found all these altered sales contracts and missing millions of dollars.
Like, hold on a second. These are a little different.
Right. So, yeah, pages and pages of this. But the long and short of it is the jury found Moyes and Doherty liable for intentional misrepresentation, negligent misrepresentation, breach of fiduciary duty, breach of contract, and conversion. The jury awarded JetSource $3.7 million in damages for breach of fiduciary duty, $1.2 million for breach of contract, $20.4 million for misuse of JetSource's credit cards. In addition to compensatory damages, the jury awarded JetSource $11.4 million in punitive damages against Doherty, $3.8 million in punitives against Mach 1, and $3.8 million in punitives against their other company, Aircraft Dealer Services, or whatever it was, and $1.5 million in prejudgment interest.
That is so many zeros, Doug.
It's a lot of zeros.
That had to be like, what, like $50 million in there somewhere? It doesn't even matter,
know.
but my goodness.
Somebody on the internet can add it up. However, tens of millions. So you get a judgment against you, right? Legally, I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding of the legal system, they can use kind of whatever means necessary to recover these funds. Personal assets, maybe, unless you have properly registered LLC and protected your personal assets, depends on state laws. They can garnish wages. They could take income from other companies you might have. Again, it's state by state, depends on the laws and stuff, but they have their ways of getting income.
But in this situation, it does not seem like there's any ownership of any company going on.
Well, certainly not CPR Classic. That seems to be a sole proprietor owned by his daughter. Now, I don't want to allege that there's a connection there, but it is odd that the company that he's named as a director of and has been since before she was alive, that she's the owner of.
Seems convenient.
Yeah, coincidental maybe.
Yeah.
Now, I can't allege intent. However, in 2009, in the United States Bankruptcy Court, Southern District of California, I found this. Let's see. JetSource Charter has a judgment claim against Brian J. Doherty. Yep. Plaintiff commenced the above-referenced adversary proceedings seeking, among other things, to set aside various transfers from debtor to his wife, Victoria L. Doherty.
Another name.
Yes. So basically,
photo on the board.
It says in this claim that Brian transferred assets into his wife's name in order to, like, fraudulently, in order to hide the assets so that they could not be part of the judgment.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, including their residence from community property to separate property, a cashier's check for $32,000, other money transferred into bank accounts, and the alleged concealment of debtor's interest in the business and commercial property known as Main Street Auto Body in Fallbrook, California. Oh, gee. That might be a connection. An auto body shop, a restoration shop. Could be. Could be.
In the same area, in the same sphere.
But, you know, there's a pattern here, an apparent pattern, according to these court documents, of trying to hide assets from a judgment and also stealing money from people.
when you started, we were all talking, it was a similar tune to what we've talked about before with potentially other, alleged actions by other companies and other bad situations. But this has gone so much deeper, so much more intense.
Yeah. So who knows how far back this goes? Who knows what role Andrea has in all of this? If she's blissfully ignorant, her name is just on the title and her dad's pulling all the strings. Who knows? We're just setting out there what we found, what our research assistant has found, and y'all can make the connections if you want.
And I think it's interesting, too, that this shows, by the time this gets up to the public eye, into the news, this has been happening for a long time.
Yeah.
And, you hear rumblings, I've been seeing on different forums I go to popping up like, oh, hey, watch out for that, be careful.
By the time you hear it, it's too late.
Too late.
Yep. Your money's gone. Yeah. I will say this, and I don't want to make too much of a connection here, but we've been talking about Carvana a lot. Publicly traded company, whatever, all their financials are out there. But I thought there was an interesting connection here, right? With a father who is essentially has some financial dubious transactions and is then separate from the kid's company. Before I do that,
oh, you're going to check their stock? I haven't checked their stock price since season 4.
I have to go back a little bit. In the CPR Classic East e-letter, which I found, and again, Classic East is a different company, but they were writing about the history of Brian and Dylan Doherty and their connection to the company. And at the top of the CPR Classic East e-letter, I believe they're talking about their letter itself. They're poking fun at themselves. It says, often copied, never duplicated, always late. That has not aged well.
I
feel like that could be describing CPR Classic West's payments to their vendors and or customers.
Maybe. Somebody could make a joke.
Yeah, I did make a
connection.
Anyway, so back to Carvana. Their stock has been up. Their stock has been down. It's back up again against my guess. But anyway, Forbes did an article when their stock was tanking. And they were talking about the founder of it, Ernest Garcia III, the younger one, obviously. He's the third and not the first. And his fortune soared to over $11 billion at Carvana's peak. And then he did not sell, so it went down to like a couple $100 million. His dad, though, Ernest Garcia II, sold $2.5 billion of Carvana stock in a 9-month period when it was up. It wasn't at his peak, but his last stock sale did come at its peak, $350 a share, and then it went to $4. So Garcia II, the father, is worth an estimated $2.8 billion as a result of dumping his shares at the proper time, according to Forbes.com. Now, Garcia II, the dad, holds no formal position at Carvana because, quote, he pled guilty to bank fraud in 1990 and is legally barred from employment at any New York Stock Exchange listed company. Yet he, along with his son, has maintained effective control of Carvana since bankrolling the company in 2013.
Interesting. I love how you've done some really interesting things to be banned from owning a company on the stock exchange. That's nuts.
Just interesting similarities.
Yeah.
Interesting
Parallels.
Similarities. Yeah.
A different board with different
connections could be made there. Anyway, speaking of scams, we love our little Scaminator segment every week, which is where we find minor scams online. Somebody that's trying to scam you out of a car, or, do a bad listing or whatever it might be, and they're easy to spot. Well, this one is the reverse. This one was somebody thought my wife was scamming them. This is not car related, other than the fact that my wife owns a car, so I guess it is.
Yeah, she drives sometimes. Perfect.
So she's on Facebook Marketplace trying to buy a piece of art for our bedroom, $40. She's real frugal. She shops at Goodwill and Aldi.
Reasonable.
And she had wanted this piece of art. She had missed another one online, and she found this one, and she messages the lady. She's like, I've got cash. I'll come pick it up today. Where are you located? And the lady,
seems reasonable.
Yeah, sure. And the lady was in Chesterland. It's like half an hour from us. And the lady responds, "Oh, this is going to be fun. This sounds like a scam."
Hi, I would like to buy the thing that you have for sale with cash money that you would prefer. How does that sound like a scam?
I mean, I get it, right? Because scammers are overly eager. They're like, "I will buy your item. What is your last price? Okay, I'll give you more money, and then you ship it to me." But like, she's like, "No, I'm trying to come pick it up with cash. Like, give me your dang address. I'll be at your porch."
Yeah. Okay.
And she got called out for trying to scam her. So she responded like, "Oh, how is this a scam exactly? Like, here's who I am. Here's a picture of me, whatever." I don't know what she did, but I wanted to troll the lady in so many other ways. But after a couple days, the lady finally was like, "Okay, well, yeah, I guess you're not a scam. You can buy it, but I've done my homework and I listed this item way too cheap. So it's now $150. Do you still want it?"
No, thanks. I'm good. Man.
Yep.
Nuts for Sticks is a brand celebrating the manual transmission in all its forms. So forget those flappy paddles because we like shifting ourselves. Check out our fun and funny stick-themed shirts at nutsforsticks.com and save 10% on your order using the discount code SWITCHCAST. That's nutsforsticks.com and use code SWITCHCAST.
Thank you for joining us for Switchcast with Doug Tabbitt and Tyler Sanders, produced by Ethan Huffnagel. Switchcast is an automotive entertainment and opinion show, and nothing we say should be taken very seriously. We do not give tax, investment, legal, emotional, or professional advice, and the only licenses we hold are driver's licenses. The opinions expressed on this show are exclusively held by the people pontificating at that moment and do not reflect the values of our producers or sponsors. Our theme music is provided by Emily and Ivory. You can stream their full album on Spotify or SoundCloud. If you like this show, you can stream it in its entirety on your favorite audio podcast platform. Check out switchcast.live for more info.